Hi everyone, my earthling peeps and whoever wants to listen, as long as they are benevolent and of good, for my best and highest good. Okay, so today's video, and I gotta make it quick, is to do with an experience that took place the day before yesterday. I think it was the day before yesterday. It's gonna sound kind of wild, but hear me out on this, okay? Before I get into this, let me explain that never would I say to automatically think when a health thing is going on that, it could be something on a spiritual level, should always get checked out. And I have an appointment on Monday, by the way, to go over some lab results and that. So, but I do believe that we can have experiences that can tie in both physical things going on with us and what we need to do medically in that, as well as there could be spiritual causes too for things, okay? So, this is what I at least feel, okay? It doesn't mean I'm not going to mention anything to my doctor, but I still feel like it wasn't an actual like health issue going on. I went to Walmart a couple days ago. I didn't skip breakfast. I had eaten breakfast and that, so I know my sugar and everything was fine. I had a huge cup of my hot tea and everything, so I wasn't dehydrated. But I was there, and all of a sudden, it's funny because this incident happened right as I started to listen to messages from my co-host of our podcast. That's the Third Eye Sister Souls, podcast that we do. And right when I started to listen to her messages, I immediately, I had this pressure change in my ear, and like it wasn't just in my ear, I'd say it just like the whole, when you go on an airplane and your ear pops and does all this stuff, right, and you feel and a pressure change happens. Well, that's what happened, but it kind of was like from in the ear to a whole body pressure change, and then suddenly I was extremely lightheaded, okay? Just like this real big huge rush came on, and it lasted a good 20 minutes, and I started to get a little scared at one point, thinking, is something, because I literally got to where I felt like I was going to faint. But I heard a voice say to me telepathically in my head, I heard, "You're going to be okay, you're going to be fine, this is going to pass." And so it's interesting because I've been having more lately, maybe due to the Lionsgate or whatever, a lot more activity going on, right? And so I didn't know if this is, well, I always have stuff going on, right, since I was a baby. But the Lionsgate thing, of course, increased. But now the Lionsgate's been closed, and this is, I think it's closed or whatever. I could be wrong on that, but anyhow, it should be not at its peak anymore, nonetheless, right? So I decided to tune in intuitively what I was getting, and I've been having, of course, all kinds of things, crazy things happening with my security cam, and things turning up, and huge orb as I posted from one of my shots, security cam and that. But I tuned in intuitively, and I was picking up that it was connected to whatever's been going on. There's this corner in my room area where it seems like all the activity is. I found my earrings more than once be out of my jewelry box and neatly placed on the floor, okay? So somebody might say, oh, probably, was your cat or something, and well, one thing, they'd have to be able to get into my jewelry box, and then the other thing is that they would just be scattered, you know what I mean? These are twice I've caught it and they've been neatly placed on the floor in that corner. In that same corner of the room, I've heard, sometimes it sounds like a pounce on my, the roof overhead, and, but there's nothing there. There's no tree, I've gone out and looked, there's no tree branches or anything like that. And so it just seems to be, and this is where the large orb was, and it seems to be, and I have other things that I've caught on my security cam that where things going on in the room, right? And so intuitively I was picking up a being, and I kept getting blue, like blue colored in that. And so I decided to dive deeper, and I got the sense of, well, I did some talking about it with someone else, and we come up with that it was Arcturian. And I was kind of surprised because I was like, wow, Arcturian, my connections have usually been Greys or something like, especially the Greys, because I get a lot of stuff going on with the Greys, and or what would you call it? Not subspecies, but hybrid species of Greys and stuff like that. So the whole Arcturian thing was really different, and the information that I got was that I could have had what they call a brief hold on to your seats with this one. A brief moment of a being walking through me, and because his energy was so high, because I got male vibrations, right, because it's an extraterrestrial or whatever, that would cause my body to have this sensation, the lightheadedness, the feeling of the pressure change and all that. So, and it was interesting because I looked up, and apparently people have reported similar kind of things, right? Where these things they believe to be another form of extraterrestrial contact. And also that I got that my frequency or whatever, they're making adjustments in that, maybe to aid in my soul's vibration and that, and ready for maybe my next stage of things that are to come in my life with, this new kind of reality we have now. It's becoming more known, as you know, with ETs and the whole 9 yard and their interaction with us. So I found this really, really interesting. And here's the thing, the information that I got. This being is not a being who's been around my group of beings that normally work with me and my protector and everything. But of course, my protector stepped in right away to make sure that this being wasn't going to be of anything with any kind of malevolent nature. And apparently, this is an Arcturian being. This is what I got. Stepped in briefly through me, and there was no malevolent feelings or anything like that. And so my protector has agreed for this Arcturian being who feels they can aid in my raising of my soul's vibration to work with them. And so now this Arcturian being is part of the team because we all, the information I get when I'm channeled is that we all have teams that work with us, because this is a multi-dimensional thing we're talking about, with our consciousness and that, and dimensions. There's like layers, and you gotta have, like, you have your your main protectors and all that, but because you've got branch offs of this dimension, that dimension, and that, it's really important to have all the layers of dimensions and stuff that are around you protected, and that still, unfortunately, things tend to get through sometimes that are not for our best and highest good, and we're humans, so these kind of things happen. So, but anyways, but the whole thing was I just found this whole experience was really interesting to do with that. And then last night I had a dream that, here we go, it wasn't like, oh, I was sitting there focusing on blue, that the Arcturians are blue, right? And at least from my understanding, or at least one part of their species in that is blue. And so all of a sudden last night I had a dream, and I was in England, and I used to live in England years ago, and wasn't my best experience, but I've healed, I've mended that experience. That was I was with an abusive ex-husband, and I've moved on from that. I don't live in that that memory or existence anymore. Everything's, for me, is healed and done. So but it's like a neutral ground. So I think that's what England was representing in this dream. And I was in this 2-story house, and it was blue. It was all blue, okay? And I have a love for Sobek. I have of course, my book series, and that was written on Sobek and that, and there's all these connections and ties and everything to Sobek, and my existence from that timeline and stuff. So when I mention this next part, no, it's not threatening. No, I don't believe it means dangers or anything like that, because the minute you mention alligators or crocodiles, people are like, oh, that means that you've got something that's you got to work out, that's troubling in your life. Maybe sometimes, yeah, but I really didn't get that feeling. These alligators were below on the ground in a pond, and they were swimming happily and peacefully. In fact, I actually had sympathy for one, because if I seem to remember in the dream, one of them, some cruel human tattooed him, and that made me mad. So anyways, but the whole funny thing was, the whole time that the dream was going on, I was hearing blue onyx. So I just wanted to let you know that it was just interesting because of all this stuff about the Arcturians, and the Arcturians are blue, right? So anyhow, that's my video. I gotta keep it short because I got other things going on. And love you guys. Take care. Have a wonderful day, night, whatever. Love you. Talk to you later. Bye.